Okay. Okay, hello everyone. Um, my talk is how to keep open source project alive. And I'm Alexander Gayevsky. I'm a freelance software developer from Ukraine, and also I'm a core contributor to the Django Oscar, one of the coolest e-commerce applications on top of Django. Okay, so in our daily work, every day we use a lot of open source projects, Django itself, and a bunch of applications that we plug in and that speakers already mentioned about. So basically, if you start an open source project and it becomes popular, you get a lot of feedback and it seems very cool. And then consequences changes, and you see that you have a problem here. It's not quite easy to maintain open source project at some point of time. And then you get a lot of pull requests, more and more and more, and a lot of tickets, and you still want to make it work. You still want to do the best way, but it turns into a snowball. But there is a way out. Does not be like it shouldn't be like that. You can get more people involved. You can be proactive. You can show example and ask for help from another members of the community around your project. Also, you can try to find some funding because it's very tough, and we already talked about this a bit, but it can work. And when talented people try to do something and they struggle, it would work at some point. So we have already example. The first example is Django Fellowship project, so also Mozilla grant that already was used by Django Shells, and also a great job from the Tom Christie and the Django REST framework. And also when it's hard, when it's still hard, you can transfer it to someone else. And if someone else is interested in working at this, it could work. Okay, small thanks to David Winterbottom, Mike Hoffel, who brought me 2 years ago on the DjangoCon Europe 2015, and Michael Wintelingen, one of the current active contributors to the and maintenance of Django Oscar. So here is, yeah. If you want to talk about Oscar, please come to me.
So, hello everybody. I'm going to talk to you about, I'm going to tell you a story about rain. I'm really happy that actually the counter didn't, okay. So, as all good stories, it starts with Django. Django, it's a framework for ponies with magical powers. And Django is good because it has a lot of code. So, this code, actually, all the codes that's there is actually not in your project. So that's a really good thing because you have to type less code. But at some point, you're going to be in a situation where you want to change something in the code that we saw earlier, but you can't really do it exactly in Django because it doesn't really allow for this type of change you would like to do. But still, it doesn't do exactly what you would like. So you're tempted to copy-paste the code from Django in your own code. And then people tell you copy-pasting is bad, you shouldn't do that, and there's security problems, and then it's hard to maintain, etc. So. But then on the other hand, you know that like writing workaround would be ugly, And there are many different solutions, like it's really specific problem for you, so you couldn't contribute, and even if you did, it would be like in Django in 2 years, so it's complicated. So in the end, yeah, your code isn't dry anymore, you do the copy-paste, and yeah. And as you know, Django is a framework for ponies with magical powers and security patches, yeah. So here's the catch. At some point there is a security bug that's found in Django, and it's fixed, of course, because Django is a wonderful project. And if you're someone really good, you go and look at the patch and you realize that it's some of the code that you've copy-pasted 2 years before. If you're anything like me, it's not the case. Well, at this point you have introduced a security breach in your security problem in your application. So enter Raincoat. Raincoat has your code covered when you can't stay dry. How does Raincoat work? Actually, you just write this kind of comment in your code saying like, at this point I inspired myself from code that was in Django 1.9 at this file, actually this specific method. And when you run Raincoat as a command line tool, it will show you the exact diff that was that's between Django at the time you copied it and Django when you're using it now. This approach is quite large, and it allows for many different things. For example, Raincoat can also have comments telling you that a bug that you have fixed in Django, that you have worked around in your code has been fixed in Django, and there are many other possibilities. So with that, that's all. I'm really happy to be there.
Thank you, Rocky.
So, hi guys. So, we are bad communicators. And how do I know this? It's because we're in a tech conference, and we already had 3 talks that help us better interact with each other instead of just talking about code. So what gives? It's pretty odd because we're intelligent, we try to be nice to each other, but something doesn't work. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is that we inherited bad code. This is code we inherited from the media, from the environment, thanks for laughing, from our family, from our friends, but it's legacy code. It's buggy. It's full of errors. It throws exceptions at us, which we don't even catch. So there's a better way. We can refactor this. The bad news is that I only have 2 minutes left, so I can't teach you how to refactor this right now. The good news is that I will show you one example, okay? So if you take one thing from this talk, is the next. There's a quote by Marshall Rosenberg, who started nonviolent communication. And the quote is, what people are saying is either please or thank you. And I will just show you one example, which Anna helped me with. If you remember her talk from today about unconscious bias, there was this chat where someone started with, hey guys, and then this whole long conversation followed. Now this conversation is the result of us using our legacy code. What might have happened if we used the say please method is something a bit different. So let me show you what might have happened if we refactor this code. What might have happened is that when Antonio say, hey guys, Beth might reply with, hey Antonio, you know, when you say hey guys, I feel frustrated because I want to be included in the conversation. Would you please replace guys with friends next time? Now this increases the chances of Beth getting her needs met because she's more vulnerable, she expresses herself, and she makes a request. And Antonio knows exactly what to do next. So we're running out of time. If you want to know more about it, you can find me on Slack or on Twitter, or just find me. I'm wearing a yellow shirt. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Aidan.
Russell Keith Mcgee. I'd like to talk to you about bees. When I say bee, you're probably thinking of this little creature, the European honeybee, Apis mellifera, and they do make some very lovely honey. This, however, is one of very many Australian native bees, the blue-banded bee, Amygilla cingulata. Unlike European bees, most Australian native bees, like the blue-banded bee, are solitary animals. They don't swarm and they don't form hives. And unlike most Australian animals, snakes, spiders, jellyfish, drop bears, they're harmless to humans because they don't have a sting. They're actually just really pretty. But the reason I want to talk to you today is a different type of bee. Originally Australian, now all over the world, Brutus, the pie bee. Beeware is a collection of tools and libraries for building native user interfaces in Python, including user-facing tools like Cricket for running test suites, Podium, which I'm using right now. There's Toga, a cross-platform native widget toolkit that works on macOS and Linux and Windows and iOS and Android. There's Voc for running Python code under Java. There's Batavia for running Python in the browser. And there's Briefcase for packaging code for distribution. Details on all of those projects can be found at pybee.org. Now, for most of its life, Beeware has been a spare time project for me, but over the last few months, progress has been especially rapid because, for the last 6 months, Beeware development has been partially subsidised by some very generous employers at Jambon Software. Unfortunately, my contract with Jambon is coming to a close, which means Beeware will go back to being developed purely on volunteered time. This also means that the rate of progress will also slow, and there's plenty left to do. I would like to be able to work on Beeware full-time, so this is an appeal to you, the Python community. I am looking for a job, but I think I can solve two problems at once. If you are excited by the prospect of having access to Python on mobile platforms, or you or your company would like to write applications in Python that have completely native user interfaces, I need your help. For US $10 a month, you can join the Beeware project as a financial member. And if I can find 1,000 people in the Python community who want these tools and are willing to support their development financially, I can start working on Beeware full time. If I can find more than 1,000 people, then we can start to do some social good as well. For some time, I've had an open offer to mentor anybody who wants to get involved in open source contribution. I'd like to take that to the next level and start to hire and pay junior developers, give those developers an opportunity to advance their skills and their public profile, and prioritise giving that opportunity to people from underrepresented demographics in our community. Still early days for Beeware. Financial support means faster progress. Best of all, we can get great tools without having to give up on all of our open source ideals. I'm excited for what the future holds for Beeware. I hope you'll join me on this journey. And I'll be around to the end of the sprints working on Beeware, thanks to Revolution Systems. I've got a stash of challenge coins. If you owe one, you want one, come see me. And I've got stickers. Come grab me, have a chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell.
Okay, cool. I like presenting crazy stuff, like PowerPoint templating with Django. So basically, at Make a Media, we had a client project, and we built. We had client needs that they had to be able to export data to PowerPoint and then afterwards edit it. So we just built it for them. Yeah, basically the why of it is it's technically challenging. So that's something that we as developers like. The people that are using those templates, they are non-technical people, so editing HTML or JavaScript or CSS, it's not something that can be done easily. On the other hand, we don't want to be bothered every time they want to change the color in their presentation, for example, so we want flexibility that they can edit PowerPoint templates and upload them and then just export their data with that thing. So how did we set it up? We set it up in 3 stages. So the first one is a pure Python library called bureaucracy.
In the tree.
And that's the thing that knows how to take a PPTX file as a template. The second level is Django bureaucracy, which implements an engine to be able to use the Django template tags, for example. But you can also use Jinja templates if you want to. The third level is the actual project where you can even define extra custom tags that are project specific. Currently what's supported at this point is inserting links into the templates, rendering out pre-styled tables. There's support for control structures, and basically anything we needed to be able to export that specific data for the client. And this is an example of one of the slides that we used, a template. The way it works is that in the PPTX file, you can define slide layouts and you can insert placeholders in that. So most of these things are either picture placeholders or text placeholders, and we just fill them up with Django template code and then render this entire thing out. And this is the result that comes out of it. This is easy for the end users, of course, because if they want to change those 6 boxes into 4, it's easy for them because you just remove 2 of the boxes and rearrange them a bit, upload the PowerPoint file, and we as developer, we don't have to do anything for this. This is another example of more complex flow control. Basically what we have here is one person that can make multiple social media posts. As soon as you have more than 4 posts, you need to repeat the slide for the same person. So we have a repeat while construct built into Django bureaucracy that can work on multiple levels. This is how it renders out. And there's more like this. It gets unwieldy soon, but it works pretty well for us. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, the last lightning talk for today, Antonis Christofidis.
I want to know how many requests per second your Django apps actually receive in production. And I'm talking about the busiest second of the day. So if you are serving fewer than 10 requests per second, please raise your hand. Okay, not many people, maybe 10, 20. More than 10 requests per second, please. Okay, I think there's about an equal amount. So we are about 50%, and the reason I'm asking you is that each time I hear a story about deployment, whether it's a blog post or a conference talk or a podcast, I get the impression that everyone's problem is how to serve 1 billion requests per nanosecond, and I feel, am I really that small and insignificant? I mean, my apps maybe receive 10 requests per minute or so. So here's another question. I want to know whether your Django apps use any kind of Comet or server push or WebSockets or long polling or any kind of technology that needs to keep a connection open. So if they don't use any such thing, please raise your hand. Or if you don't know what I'm talking about, thanks, that's many people. And if they do use such a thing, please raise your hand. Okay, again, 50%. We are 50-50. Okay, so you know, the other time, because this reminds me of Andrew Godwin, I was listening to a podcast where he was guesting, and when I listened to what he said, I thought, oh my God, I'm really small and insignificant. So I moved to the next podcast episode to feel a little bit better, and the guest was Guido van Rossum, which didn't make things much better. Anyway, I think that it's a minority, or maybe it's the majority, or some people write the blogs, but they aren't necessarily representative. And one reason may be because it's not really noteworthy to write a blog post and say, hey, I fixed the 5 users per day problem. However, I think this is only on the surface, because if you have 10 or 20 small sites and you need to maintain them in an equal number of clients, then this is also a valid problem, and we need to start to exchange ideas on how to make this better. So I'd say let the plebes reclaim the blogs. Thank you.
Thank you.